Hey guys, welcome back to Outsourcing Angel. It's Linh here and my managing director, Richard Fu. He's in the house and we decided to talk about a topic around Filipino culture. It's based on our own experience actually. We just had some discussion over last week when we talked about, why is it that sometimes our Filipino VAs are too afraid to speak up, especially when, they're speaking to managers. And I'm like, this is such a great topic and I want to share this with you, especially if you're working with virtual assistants from places like the Philippines or developing country. You got to be aware of the culture. Otherwise, it will be misunderstanding and you're not being able to bring out the best in your people. Right. So Richard, I know I've personally worked with them for the last 10 years. I understand a few things or two about their culture. What do you feel like when it comes to, under you, there's a few VAs and I know you're always trying to empower them. Your goal is to turning them into leaders as well. Before you came in, I kind of loved giving instructions. Said, you do this, you do that, and as long as they did it, I was happy. Which meant that I was a bottleneck, but which also meant that it was easy on them where they just do whatever I said. But that wasn't good in the long term. So now we try to empower. So what are some of the challenges for you when you try to help them to speak up more or become a leader?
Yeah, and look, so what we're going to talk about here is it'll be generalized, right, through our experiences. It doesn't mean, if you have a Filipino team member, that they're going to be like this too.
People can be different.
They're individuals at the end of the day, right? But there's a common trait that we see is, what you say is correct, right, Linh, is a lot of Filipinos, and look, maybe this comes down to Asian culture.
Asian culture, yes.
Right? And it's just a lot of you respect hierarchy. Right? So you respect your grandma, you respect your grandfather, if your grandma says apple's evil, you better be like, okay, yes, apple's evil, right? You don't say stuff like that. And
usually it comes down to even age, like the older you are, the more respect you think you deserve. And I think sometimes if you work with someone who's younger than you, but they're more superior than you, I think they would also, it creates a power struggle too, right?
It's age and experience, right? And there's always that I guess I'd say base level, right, where people are always like judging you. If they don't know who you are, then they're just meeting you for the first time, they will judge you on your age and your experience, and you're like at a very low level where you have to establish your trust. You have to establish, your credibility, right, your reliability, and then connect with them. And so working with Filipino VAs, they will default to the task-based type of work, which is what we talk about a lot, right, Linh, is, they're always stuck with, just tell me what to do, and they want to do that at the start because they're like, I don't want to take responsibility, right? I don't want to get yelled at, right? I don't want to give an idea and then I get yelled at, or I give an idea, you say it's great, and then I go with it and it turns out bad. So, for them, they're brought up in, especially in Asian cultures, like, get it right. Like, how come you only got 90? How come you only got 99 out of 100, right? It's that thing inside. And so for them, it's always like, I'm just gonna back off and I'll do whatever the boss says. If it's wrong, the boss has to cop it, right? At the end of the day. But what we try and do here is, especially in Western culture, is like, you want more ideas, you want collaboration, you want people to own stuff. Yeah, and like you said, Linh, it was great when you're like, do that. But everyone waits to you. Everyone comes to you, and then they come to you all the time. It's like, the smallest things. Like, hey, Linh, can I post this picture? And you're like, yeah, go, right? But then you go on holiday, and then everyone's like, I'm gonna chill out, I'm gonna relax, right? Lin's not around, don't have to do anything. And then once you're back, you're like, oh my god, I gotta catch up on everything, And that's because there's that innate, I guess, feeling for them. And this could be not just Filipinos, it could be any team member. They just want to not have to make the decision because they don't want to be held accountable, right? And so what we try and do a lot is, we want to create accountability, but you have to create a safe space for that. And so for us, you can't just be like, bam, now you make decisions, right? You try and do that, it's like swinging all the way on the other side. So what we try and do is make it very small steps for it, right? And it could be like, let's say they come to you first and like, hey, Linh, I got this photo here and this photo, which one do you want me to post? And it's like, you probably already know the answer in your head, but you train yourself as a leader to hold back and be like, I don't know, like, hey, what do you think? And legitimately, they'll be like, I don't know, because they don't want to make a decision. They don't want to make mistakes, right? And so you just go, hey, look, that's great. Let's just think about this. Imagine we're in a different universe. and you did know the answer, right? Which one would you pick anyway? And you want them to have to think and ask, and then not ask, but give their opinion, and then it's like what you want to do as a leader is, as you train them, you're trying to understand what's going on. How did so you like picture B? Oh, tell me more. Like, and it's just literally tell me more. Don't be, why do you like picture B? Like, tell me more about that. Help me understand, like, what did you love about that?
Yeah.
And then they go in, and then they start opening up a little bit, and then when they start opening up a little bit, you don't, if they're wrong, you don't go in and stab them, right? You don't go in and punch them. You're just like, hey, okay, cool. That really helps me understand. Like, if they're right, awesome. Yeah, that's a picture I love too. Exactly that thing, go for it. If it's wrong, hey, okay, can I share a bit about what I think? You might want to do. Oh, yes, please. I would say yes, please, because I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so this is why I like picture A. This.
Yeah.
Do you see how he like meshes up with what we want, that type of thing?
Yep. So that's a great way to encourage them to put an input. Now, the other aspect of it is, let's just say we tell them what to do, but then they can see that there's a better way. How do we actually encourage them to speak up against the boss, right? So here's what we discovered is that they are always, as much as they might know another idea or whatever, but they don't want to raise it up because the boss suggested that. But we don't want that culture, right? We want it to be the best effective way, the most efficient way. So we want to encourage our team to go, hey, if you have a better way, I want you to speak up. So how would you encourage that?
That's always very hard, right? Because they're thinking like, the boss wants it this way, I'll do it this way. And then so it's on you as a leader to create, like what I've said a lot, right, with our team, Lynn, is create space for them to reflect, them being you and the team. And so, like at our company, we try and have every month, operations will have like an incident problem management meeting where it's like, let's reflect on the problems, the tickets that have been, I guess, raised this month, to see patterns, to see what's happening and see what we can do differently. Sales has it, marketing has it, right? And those are moments where we're trying to debrief on, hey, is there things that we are doing that we need to change up? Doesn't mean someone raises something all the time, right? At that same time, usually a very good time to review and get people's feedback is when something doesn't go the way you thought it would, right? If something doesn't go the way it is, most people like, we shouldn't, like, the worst thing that can happen is someone go, you should have fixed this by now, right? You should have went back and did this, but that doesn't help, right? So, that's happened in our team as well, and that's where we have to come in and go, stop, let's pick whatever should have happened, that's fine. But what we want to do, let's sort this out, clear it out as best as we can, and then we have a debrief.
A debrief. I love that. Yeah, in any project or anything, any circumstances, you have a debrief so that you can reflect what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah, and then that's where you can open up that dialogue of what can we do better, how can we do it together. But if it's in that moment, sometimes you don't have that time, right? Or the luxury of that. And so then it can be seen as, why is this person not doing the thing I want them to do? It's like, hey, go post this. And then they're like, hey, Lynn, I got a better idea of doing this. You're like, no, just post, right? Go talk to the client, right? And they're like, I got a better idea. How about I email them? No, just talk to the client. And that's why it's like, let's always, if you feel that happens, then it's just like, it's always good to call a debrief a week later or something like that.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, when you're working with a VA, it's like a relationship. You're gonna need time to get used to them. They need to understand you, and the more you can communicate that and don't expect them to know. It's like, well, they should have known. No, they don't know. So always take that opportunity to say, hey, this is the way I like to work. I like you to raise it up. I like you to speak up when I do this, and even show your vulnerability and say, hey, I'm quite weak when it comes to, attention to detail. Can you please, remind me more or do this? And don't feel like you're bothering me, okay? Because sometimes, other people, even your own partner or friends would be like, oh, I didn't do this because I assumed this. And same case with virtual assistant as well. And so just take that time, and it's unfortunate when we hear clients quitting too early, because it's not that the VA didn't work, it's you haven't got to know them as a person yet. So
and I think the big thing is, if you want that, I guess, collaboration and feedback to happen, the biggest thing, and everyone has this, if I give you feedback, Lynn, and then you're like, okay, cool, thanks, Richard, but you do nothing with it, then I'm like, why bother? Why do I bother telling you then, Lynn, right? If nothing's gonna change, right? And so you have to really take that feedback on board. If it like makes sense, cool. If it doesn't, then it's like, let's hash it out more. Like, you know, I can't go buy you that $20,000 CRM because it doesn't make sense. So how can we find some middle ground, something that works together? Because yeah, like everyone wants to give feedback, but no one wants it where their feedback doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
The definition of it doesn't matter is nothing happens.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Well, those are the tips for you around communication, and I guess making sure that you embrace and nurture that culture, because once the culture is broken, it is very hard to fix it. But yeah, in short, at Outsourcing Angel, we do more than just recruiting and then, you know, doing payroll. A lot of our time is actually coaching our own clients and VAs on how to actually work together. Sometimes it feels like we're the love coach, you know, the relationship coach, because it comes down to knowing how to work together so you can bring the best output from one another. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions for us, love to hear in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you again in the next video. Bye.